Hello, everyone, and welcome. Before we get started, let's just talk about the channel. We do Dark and Darker content here almost every day. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please like and subscribe. It helps me a ton. But we are in the Goblin Caves. We are on Cleric, and we are here to make money. I've been performing an analysis and comparison of, gold per hour versus solo in the Goblin Caves versus solo in Crypts and High Roller with the chest changes. I think it's kind of overdue that we kind of re-examine where the best money can be made. And these are some of the runs that I am doing here in Goblin Caves. Brought in a little bit of gear. None of it's really well appointed. But I am running enough spell memory, spell capacity to be able to run Earthquake, which will come into play later in the video. But I wanted to talk a little bit about where Cleric is right now solo. Spoilers, it's very strong. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of demographics that we're seeing in the Goblin Caves these days. It used to be, prior to, I guess, 3 patches ago, 90% of every lobby that you would go into would be all rogues, whether it was runes or Goblin Caves or whatever. And they took rogues down a peg, probably took them down several pegs. And so we see considerably fewer rogues than we have in the past. And to replace them, we now have barbarians. So all the guys who would pretty much just become landmines as a rogue, stealthing behind a door, waiting for you to come through so they could just hold left click and kill you. They now have to hold W and left click to kill you because they're playing barbarians now. And while I think the barbarian is an incredibly strong part of the meta comp, the buff ball, wizard, cleric, barbarian, barbarians are extremely poor solo. And you're going to encounter a ton of barbarians if you're playing solo. And I just wanted to kind of walk you through how to beat them in the current meta. Now, the barbarians you have to worry the least about are the Timmy barbarians who are coming in with the gray battle axes. That is an extraordinarily poor weapon. It's one of the weakest spots on the barbarian is kind of their weapon choice. They have almost no range with that, and it's extremely easy to avoid the battle axe damage. It's extremely easy to kite out ungeared barbarians. They don't have enough agility to even run down a cleric. And the cleric is one of the slowest classes currently in Dark and Darker. So when the barbarian can't run you down, it's not really much of a matchup. With the changes to Achilles Strike, they will put Achilles Strike on a thrown weapon. They will hit you with that Franny Axe, and you will be slow, but you will no longer take 70% of your health while you continue to evade them. So you've got a lot of options. You've got, just staying out of range is your first option. Your second option is blocking the very predictable attack patterns of the axe. And then lastly, you've got the ability to block a lot of those attacks, whether you're blocking the head of the weapon or the base. Now let's see, this is going to be, I think, our first encounter with a barbarian. So in the Cleric versus Barbarian match, I'm running Judgment here. In this matchup, you want to play around cooldowns. So the Barbarian has a couple shouts that you really don't want to engage with them while that shout is active. You would prefer not to. And you want to use as many Judgments as you can during the fight. It's free damage, and it provides a snare onto the Barbarian. So even if you're not running high spell cap to be able to run Earthquake, which is tremendously strong against all melee classes, but Barbarians in particular, your Judgment should do more often than not. It will get the job done. Earthquake then becomes really kind of a nice to have. But yeah, most of these guys are used to, rolling their barbarians in a 3-man comp where they're super buffed. They've got haste on them. They've got invis on them. They're able to close undetected onto your back line, and then they open up, taking out 1, 2, 3 people. I think the meta weapon choice right now on the Barbarian is the Wormaul. It's a very strong weapon. It is a very slow weapon, but generally they get around those weaknesses by, virtue of the buffs they are receiving in the buff wall comp, as well as, a higher level of gearing than you often experience here in the Goblin Caves. So in the 1v1 Cleric versus Barbarian matchup, let's examine what the Barbarian wants. The Barbarian wants the fight to go as quickly as possible. They want to close to you, they want to get their buffs up, and then they want to hit you in the head with their melee weapon as many times as it takes to bring you down. And for a lot of the high-end weapons on a geared barb, that can be 1 shots, that can be 2 shots, 3 shots on the outside, right? So they need to close, they need to get in there, they need to fight not to last. So if you're dealing with equivalent gear between the Cleric and the Barbarian, you want to try to drag that fight out as long as possible. Alright, here we go. He's got his shout up, he's got Achilles strike up. He does not close immediately. I get the earthquake off, he takes a lot of damage there. He's slowed. So I'm able to kite out the first swing, no problem. Able to block the second swing, get a judgment off, and then a single bonk is enough to bring him down. Now, he is not running a particularly strong set of gear here. He also has a terrible weapon into me. It is easy to dodge, easy to block, and once again, pretty easy to kite out. Had he had a Wormaul here, that fight would have played out a little differently. Counterintuitively, I probably would have opened the same way with an earthquake into a judgment, and then I would have moved in on him to attempt to pommel block the wide arc swing of the Wormaul. And for those of you who don't know, you can, when a large two-hander does its wind-up move, generally pulling it back behind the character model, you can simply step forward and, with your shield, block, and when the pommel of the weapon, the base of the weapon, hits your shield, it interrupts the attack, causing him to reset, stagger, and essentially lose any advantage that he has in that moment. Because the Wormaul is such a slow weapon, you can then get off a bonk with your Morningstar or your mace, and he's just going to have a bad time once you're on the inside. Conversely, if he's swinging kind of at hip level, you can do a duck under the Wormaul attack by either crouching and looking up or looking down, both of which will allow you to avoid that damage in its entirety. And if he's doing a crouched swing with the Wormaul, you can easily jump over the Wormaul attack. But that fight plays out exactly like that every time. The gear advantage here is not insignificant. Like, I've got a blue shield, a blue weapon, and a mismatch of random greens that I've been picking up several runs in the Goblin Caves. That guy was coming in with basically starter gear and definitely a starter weapon, which is like a huge mistake on Barbarian. I think they're finding some success, I guess, by just running that, and like I said, pressing W, walking forward, and holding down left click works to kill unsophisticated players. But it's not going to get me, and with the benefit of this video, it shouldn't get you either, right? Now, if you're a faster class than a Cleric, you've got a lot of outplay options with the Barbarian. If you're running something like a Ranger or a Bard that has a lot of movement speed, a Rogue too, I guess, you have options. You can definitely operate in an orbit around the Barbarian, dance in, land a headshot, dance out. I main Ranger, and I'll tell you, the ranger with the spear handles barbarians pretty well. If I have the right spacing, if I'm able to maintain that spacing the way I want to, the barbarian's at a severe disadvantage. The reach on the spear is superior to any weapon in his arsenal, and I can kind of dance in, land 1, 2, or even 3 headshot combos, and then get out, and he will be very frustrated. Then on cooldown, I can swap to my weapon, my longbow, get off a double shot, and continue to dance. So this is game 2 here in today's video. We've got a great start, one of my favorite starts here in the Goblin Caves, simply because it's going to give me access to this room in the northeast corner of the map. It has a number of chests to open, and in the new kind of loot meta, chests are where it's at. I speculate that it may not even be worth your time to loot monsters that you kill at this point because of how superior the loot is in chests. I still do. It's more muscle memory than anything else. But yeah, I'm mostly focused on, getting these chests. In particular, if I'm fast enough here, there are 2 large chests here that can be lion's head. They could be golden. And here's one of them. The other one is under me in the caves with the goblin mage. But we're not going to head down there in this video for reasons you'll see shortly. Locked. Congrats. Let's check the bench here. There's always a bench here with always has an item on there. It can be white, it can be blue, it can be epic. It's worth checking. This time it's an epic wizard's hat. Fantastic. Take that out with me. And right onto the chests. Now, something to be aware of is there is a player spawn down there with the Goblin Mage. It is also a great spawn because it once again puts you really close to this room. But when you're pushing this room early, just understand that you can have somebody right there. Also, a lot of people will rush the guaranteed exit here slightly to the south of this room, so you can have a player coming in from that direction as well. And it's right about now, I think, that I hear that a player has in fact spawned under me and that they're pushing into the room. Off in the distance, you can hear some footsteps. I'm going to go ahead and get all of my buffs up. There, somebody has just broken the barricade. I'm going to wind up an earthquake in case they let me have the height advantage. What do you know? It's a barbarian. He's going to eat that full earthquake. I'm going to dance out of the range of his lousy weapon. I'm going to judge him. That's all it took. So what should you do if you're caught in an earthquake? The answer to that question is you should not move. Unless you're being held down by, a ranger with a ranged weapon or a mage who can land easy headshots due to your lack of mobility. The best answer for you is just not to move and wait for the channeled earthquake to end. You will take considerably less damage than attempting to move through it. So I'm going to take a little siesta here. I've sped up this footage with the power of post-editing. I heard somebody walking either in the room to my left or below me in the room to my left. So I am investigating here. See if I can find something. Yeah, there he is. He's under us. I'm going to go ahead and create an option for us to drop down there. There he is. He wants to be friends. He's going to do a lot of walking in the earthquake. Dance out of the battle axe range. Judge him. There we go. Now, had he been geared, I would have had to judge him and then go in and bonk him twice. But he's relatively low geared compared to where I am. Alright, so we've taken out the centipede boss. No worries. I think I'm probably the last one here in the zone, so I'm just going to do a little bit of looting real quick and then find the portal. And I heard one open right over here. Anytime I'm pushing into unknown territory, though, particularly where there could be a player and there could potentially be one more player left on the map, I want to make sure I've got my buffs up and running. For that portal. I don't see it, guys. If you saw it somewhere in that clip, like, please comment in the video below. But I hear somebody. Somebody over here killing skeletons. It's a ranger. He wants to go jogging. I will draft you. I judge him to say hello. He's gonna get his steps in, though. Wants to lead me on a merry chase. He has not had enough time to put down a trap. Generally, I'd let this kid go, but I don't see any portals. And only one more is going to spawn. And if it's going to be him or me, well, it's going to be me. I assumed at some point he'd want to take his bow out and start shooting me. Spoilers, that never happens. So, I heard a trap go down. He took a little damage moving forward in that earthquake. There's the trap. Hop. And let's see where he is. He's not going to contest me on the portal? I don't understand that play at all. Like, he had to fight there or die. I'm going to get out. Oh my god, he stepped in his own trap. And he's dead. Sorry, Nuffy. Just not your day, bud. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please like and subscribe. It helps me a ton, and we'll see you in the next one.